I did want to ask you, and I asked this to the senior Shaykh that come here, not to say that you're old or anything, but senior knowledge
Uncle.
and uncle, yeah.
Thank you.
And that is what advice would you
Jaldi
give?
kar putar, jaldi kar.
What advice would you give to yourself 20 years ago?
My advice I
Yeah.
would give. Oh, there's so much. Wallahi, there was so much.
I did want to ask you, and I asked this to the senior Shaykh that come here, not to say that you're old or anything, but senior knowledge
Uncle.
and uncle, yeah.
Thank you.
And that is what advice would you
Jaldi
give?
kar putar, jaldi kar.
What advice would you give to yourself 20 years ago?
My advice I
Yeah.
would give. Oh, there's so much. Wallahi, there was so much. I wish there's so many things I could have done, improve myself. Alhamdulillah, I've traveled a considerable amount. I've seen a lot of places. I've stayed in different places. I've met some amazing individuals in my study days through my talks, etc. There's so much things. One, I would have maybe study-wise, I would have concentrated on certain things which would have assisted me in my latter life. Yeah. Secondly, I would have maybe spent more time, honestly, in the khidmah of my parents. You know, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, both my parents live with me. We're a big family. I'm the youngest out of all my brothers. But time doesn't come back.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I wish that I could have reset the clock, and done the khidmah of my parents. My mum just passed away recently. My father passed a few years ago.
Yeah.
I wish could have been a better husband. I'm a great husband now. What I'm saying is that, but that only comes with maturity. It wouldn't have come when I got married. But when you look back at it, you realize, you know what? There's so many things I could have done better as a husband, as a son, as a brother. And they are the main things.
Yeah.
Ibadah, deen, alhamdulillah, obviously those things. But as a human being, I wish I could have turned the clock and said, you know what, these things which I wasn't involved in with my family, those are the things that I think was a cold thing. And time is the best teacher. So even if I reverse the clock, I mean, we say this is hypothetical, isn't it?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened. But when I look back at them, I could have been a far better son. I could have been far better family member. I could have been far better husband.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's a good answer.
It is, subhanAllah. And I was just going to say, actually, you know when someone passes away, normally whatever their life was full of, people always boil it down to maybe 2 or 3 qualities of that person that they were known for. Then if you notice this, they'll say, not to the exclusion of other things, they'll say, he was a good son, or he was very generous.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he wasn't good at his ibadah, etc. But they'll always come down, and these few qualities are what the person is known as or defines them. And these points that you're saying actually is true, because sometimes, especially when you're young and you have a zeal for the deen, you want to do all these things which aren't even a fard on you. But actually loving and looking after your parents is an obligation.
Of course.
And
And today I always say to the students, there's an example where my father was very ill, and the local imam came, Mawlana Farooq from Birmingham Jami Masjid. He knew my father, see my father, and I had actually left the sofa for that period. I said, "You guys I need to look after my father." I used to sleep downstairs with my father, and he said to me, when your parents pass away, you always think you wish you could have done more.
Yeah.
Wallahi, I was sitting there and I was thinking, not me.
Yeah.
Not me. I used to, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, I used to stay with my father, do whatever he had dimension at the time.
Yeah.
When my father passed away, I wish I could have done 100 times more. We go home today, we got our phones, we take our parents for granted. If those who have parents are alive, you don't talk to your parents. You've got no time. You got to talk to people that you don't really need to talk to.
Yeah.
You're on your phones. You got no time to speak to your wife. You're not done on the children. And then a time comes when they're not there anymore. And you think, you know what? Not only did I lose that connection with my parents, with my wife, with my children, I wish I could turn back the clock. But you can't. There's no qadha of time.
Yeah.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a tawfiq.
Ameen, ameen. May Allah give your parents Jannah.
Ameen, ameen.
Ameen.